welcome back to my channel. My name is Nidhi and you're watching my series on how to become a cabin crew. So in today's video, we will be talking about Hong Kong-based airline, the national carrier of Hong Kong, which is Cathay Pacific, which also has a subsidiary called Cathay Dragon. Now, the interview process for both the airlines is similar, and I'm going to take you through that. I'm also going to share with you some of the tips that will help you through the selection process. And of course, just want to say a huge thank you to one of my students who recently got selected for Cathay Pacific, because she gave me a detailed information on the entire interview process, and that is why I'm able to share all that information with you right now. So let's get started. First and foremost, I'm going to take you through the requirements. So you basically need to go to cathaypacific.com, their homepage, and once you're there, right at the top, you'll be able to see the option that says careers. Once you click on that, you go down all the way. It will give you an option that says customer service in the air or on ground, and when you click on that, you'll be able to see a lot of different options in terms of the customer service roles, and we're going to focus on the flight attendant portion. Now for flight attendant, basically, as I said, the interview process is the same. What happens is at the end of the interview, they will give you a choice whether you want to join Cathay Dragon or Cathay Pacific. There are quite a few similarities and there are a few differences. Now you probably have to see which role fits you the best. So in terms of the similarities, it's pretty much the same. The allowance, the experience, the roster, the training, everything is the same. The only difference is basically a Cathay Pacific is more for international flights. It focuses more on the international routes. They have base in 8 countries, and you know, it's a fairly large crew family. Now for Cathay Dragon, their focus is more on the regional aspect, focusing mainly on the Asia part, and of course that is why their crew size is quite small as well. So basically, depending on you know, whether you're married, you have family, you're single, how much are you willing to invest in terms of the time, you can go ahead and see which role fits you the best. So I'm going to take you through the requirements at this point in time. Let's go ahead and click on a flight attendant. I'm taking you through the requirements for the Hong Kong base currently, but if you're based out of any other country, it will be pretty much the same, but it would be best if you can go ahead and check their website to give you you know, the exact requirements in terms of language or any other proficiency that they're looking for that particular base. So they basically usually hire freshers as well. I'm going to go through the fresher requirements first. Key responsibilities is basically looking out for the safety aspect and the customer service aspect. In terms of the requirements, you have to be a permanent Hong Kong resident, minimum age of 18. They talked about some of the educational requirements for subjects including English language. And for the arm reach, it has to be minimum 208 centimeter on tiptoe. And of course, you have to pass all the pre-medical tests. In terms of the language, definitely English is the first language that you need to know. You also need proficiency. You have to have proficiency in a third language, a second language as well. It's all detailed down here. You can go ahead and take a look. They prefer people who would know Mandarin as the third language. Yeah, so basically that's about the requirements. I'm going to take you through the process now. So for the interview process, usually they allow you to submit your application online, and they will put it up in the database, and whenever they're hiring, they will retrieve the application and they'll send you the interview details. But they also have specific recruitment days as well, which are more like walk-in interviews where you can pre-register online or you can directly walk in, and they will put up the details on the website as well. So currently, as you can see, they're only hiring experienced flight attendants with at least 1 year of experience. But when you go ahead and click on the Apply Now page, it will basically give you the option of both experienced and the freshers. Now, experienced one, basically, when you click on it, It gives you all the requirements that you need to have. As you can see, for experienced flight attendant, the only difference is that you need to have at least 1 year of experience as a flight attendant. And then it has the Apply Now button. So when you click on the Apply Now button, it will ask you to fill in all the necessary requirements, and you have to send in the application basically. So now getting back to basically the whole interview process. So if you're applying online, what happens is that you can create an account, upload all the relevant information and the documentation, and once you've done that, they would send you an invite for a digital interview. I'm going to share the details of the digital interview later as well with you. And after submitting your digital interview, you will have to wait for a call or an email which would talk about the invitation for the final interview. And we're going to talk about the final interview as well later. And what happens on the recruitment day is, which is basically more like a walk-in. You can do a pre-registration online with your documentation and stuff, or you can walk in. For pre-registration, again, there would be an online digital interview, and they will call you for the final interview basically, and the English assessment. But if you decide to walk in, usually what happens is you will do the registration, you will go through all the documentation check, and then there will be like a first round of interview, followed by your final interview round. Now for Cathay Pacific and Cathay Dragon both, they do an English assessment test as well, which I'm going to talk about later. So yes, that's the whole interview process basically. Whether you're applying online or whether you're walking in, you will have to go through a series of interviews, including an English assessment test. Now let's talk about the digital interview. Usually the digital interview, which is also a video interview. When I say digital interview, it means a video interview. Usually there will be 2 or 3 questions where they will ask you to introduce yourself. They will ask you, some questions regarding why you would want to join Cathay Pacific or Cathay Dragon. They will also ask your preference as to which one do you want to join. And they will have some role play related questions like situation-based questions. For example, if you're faced with this particular situation and a passenger is shouting, how will you handle that, and things like that. Usually they would ask you another language question, because for them proficiency in another language is a must. So they will ask you a question in that particular language, whatever your proficiency preference is in terms of the language that you have put in there. So that's how the digital interview, the video interview happens. Now the tip that I want to share with all of you here is that basically a video interview is quite similar to a normal interview. The only difference is video interviews, you will probably have to make that first impression a lot more in terms of how the person sitting on the other side is viewing you. You also have to remember that you cannot see who's on the other side most of the times. So you really have to make sure that your grooming is proper, you maintain that smile all the times. And when it comes to answering these questions, one, be genuine. Second, speak from your experience. Talk about the skills that you have, which will make you more desirable candidate when it comes to an interviewer picking you. So again, remember, whenever you're answering questions, always talk a lot about skills. What are some of the qualities that you have that will make you a desirable candidate, and things like that. So answering questions and overall technique remains the same, but the only difference is when it comes to the video interview, you're not able to watch the person on the other side. So of course, it becomes, you cannot see their reaction. So you can't really correct yourself. There is no autocorrect based on someone's reaction. So you basically have to have that autocorrection all the time in terms of your body language, in terms of your smile, in terms of how you're presenting yourself overall. And of course, you have to make that impression very, very fast, because here, if they don't like the first few seconds, they can actually just switch to another person. But in a normal interview, what happens is that regardless of whether they like you or they don't like you, they will still ask you a couple of questions. They will still talk to you for a while before they make that decision. Okay, let's talk about the final interview. The final interview is basically the one-on-one interview, and it involves a lot of different things, from documentation check to asking you questions about introducing yourself. It basically involves the interviewer getting to know you a lot more. So you will be facing a lot of questions in terms of why do you want to be a flight attendant? Do you know the jobs a scope? Do you know what is the responsibility of a flight attendant? They can talk to you about what are some of the challenges that you faced in your previous job. What are some of the challenges that you think you will face in your job as a flight attendant? What would you do if you fail today? Would you be disappointed if we don't select you today? Share some experiences. If you have any experience in customer service, do you have a memorable experience? Do you have an experience where a customer shouted at you before? How did you handle it? And things like that. They would also focus a little bit on to give us an example of teamwork, or share an experience where you went an extra mile to exceed someone's expectations. Now again, answering these questions, remember, this is the final round, so this is a one-on-one round, so you have a lot more chance to talk a lot more here, because you can use examples from your experiences, you can use examples from your life to tell the interviewer that you are suitable for this job. So whatever question it might be, whether it's a situation-based question, whether it's trying to understand your skills question, whether it's asking you to introduce yourself and the interviewer trying to get to know you, the basic things still remain the same, which is maintaining a great smile, maintaining great body language, your posture, how you interact, how you build rapport with the interviewer. But what basically changes in this particular round is that you have a lot more time to interact, a lot more time to make that impression. So remember, when you're giving answers, give it in such a way that you're able to make that impression, you're able to convince the interviewer that you are fit for this job. Talk about your skills, talk about your experiences, use a lot of examples, share a lot of stories. So these are some of the tips that I want to share with you when it comes to final interview, or one-to-one interview rather. You will have to read a passage in this round. It's about Cathay Pacific, which is going to be both in English and the language, the choice language. So that is something that you have to look out for. So let's talk about the English assessment. The English assessment is basically the basic listening and reading based on the TOEIC standards. You can go ahead and Google that for yourself to get more information. The English test is an hour, and you would require 80% to pass. And the test is basically taken on the computer. It's not a manual test. And of course, once you get selected, the final round would be your medical that you would have to go through to do all the pre-medical necessary checks. And once you're good to go, you will get that golden call to get hired by them and go through their training program. So that's about it. This brings us to the end of the video, and I really hope this information is useful to whoever is applying for Cathay Pacific or Cathay Dragon. And as I said again, some of the requirements would differ based on the location that you're applying from. So as I said, they have different base. If you're applying from Singapore, the requirements are a little bit different. If you're applying from Taiwan, the requirements are a little bit different. So please make it a point to go to the website to look up for the necessary requirements and go ahead and apply if you're keen to join Cathay Pacific or Cathay Dragon. So I'm really glad I was able to share this information with all of you, and let's go ahead and say a quick thank you to my student as well, right here, who is sharing this information with us.
3 questions, and then I was asked to read a passage. That is a passage about a story. Yes, the passage is about a story, and my passage is about a story of an old man. They pick up passage from like internet about sometimes about service, sometimes it's not about. My passage is about happiness, and they help me. She tell me to read the passage. At the same time, I have to understand the passage, the story, and after that, she will ask me about the story. Yes, like my story is about an old man. He was very unhappy for ages, and suddenly he was happy. Yeah, something like that. And she will ask me, but I'm not sure because at that time I didn't relate the story with cabin crew. I guess it's better for me to relate them if I can. I can try again.
Sure.
Yes, and after that they will ask me like any questions, and the employment process is end. Yes, it's something like that. But the management process is very critical, I think.
Okay, yeah, because I mean they don't have a lot of rounds, so I believe the management round is very critical. So, did the body check happen on the same day, or the body check happens after a few days?
Oh, for my case, it's after 2.5 months.
So everyone, all the best, and do not forget to like, share, and comment on the video. And of course, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell for more video updates. And of course, all of you know that I do online coaching. Do get in touch with me if you'd like to know more about that. My website has a pre-qualifier form where you can register all the details, and I will get in touch with you regarding the coaching. In the meantime, all of you out there, always stay pretty, stay handsome, and I love you guys.